Now we're going to do problem 31, and it is titled Lawn Mowing Rates. Let me read the problem, then we'll talk about it for just a minute. So problem 31 says, it takes a boy 90 minutes to mow the lawn, but his sister can mow it in 60 minutes. Wow, must be some kind of a girl. How long would it take them to mow the lawn if they worked together using two lawnmowers? Okay, this is a very common kind of story problem, and I call these work problems. Some kind of work is being done, and these problems end up all being the same. The idea is you have one person or one machine can do the job in a certain amount of time by themselves. And then you have a second person can do the same job in a certain amount of time by themselves. And then they end up working together and they can do that job together in a certain amount of time. And there's a very simple equation we use for this kind of problem. So this is probably one of the easiest kinds of story problems you're going to have. I call them work problems. And here's the equation you always use. You have one, I'll call it T1, where that T1 is the time of the first person to do the job by themselves. All right, and then you add to it 1 over T2, and T2 is the time of the second person to do the job by themselves. And then you say it equals what I call 1 over T sub T, and this is the time it takes them when they're working together. So these work problems are all the same. You're going to have one person doing the job by themselves, the amount of time. A second person can do it, the same job in the amount of time, and then they work together. So there's really 3 times involved here. And in each of these problems, they're going to give you 2 of the 3 times, and you figure out the third. So in this case, they said the boy can mow it in 90 minutes. So I'll write down the boy's time under the first person. And then it says his sister can mow it in 60 minutes by herself. So I put that under T2. That's the amount of time it takes the sister to mow the lawn by themselves. And then over here, 1 over the time it takes them if they work together. And just for this problem, I'll just call it T and leave off the T sub T, since it's obvious that this time here is the time it takes them when working together. So now I simply have to solve this equation. All right, it's got some fractions, but still not too hard to set up. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear fractions. Once again, how do we clear fractions? We find the LCD and multiply both sides by the LCD. The LCD is a little tricky here. I think actually if I can find the lowest common denominator of 90 and 60, I think it's going to be like 180. And here's my T, so actually it's 180T. And I'm now going to multiply both sides of the equation by 180T. And that's what you do to clear fractions. You find the LCD and multiply both sides by that LCD. So if I multiply out the parentheses, 180T times 1 over 90 gives me 2T. And then 180T times 1 over 60 gives me 3T. And on the right-hand side, the t's cancel out. And I'm left with 180. Now it's a pretty easy problem to solve. 5t equals 180. The time, 180 over 5, 36 minutes. So, if the brother and sister work together to cut the grass, it takes them 36 minutes. So this is an example of a work problem, probably one of the easier kinds of story problems we have.